right, what is up? Welcome, guys. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go to the next level when it comes to their brand. I am your host, Junior Frederick. And of course, it is a phenomenal Friday. I have with me the man himself, Mr. Bobby Stealth. And today, we're going to be diving into some interesting topics. So if you're tuned in live, go ahead and put your flames in the comments. Let me know what the energy is like on this phenomenal Friday and let's get started. Bobby, what's up?
Man, feeling great, Junior. Feeling great. I was thinking about this song. It's an old song by Lil Wayne, and it goes brand new. So it talks about just everything being brand new car, brand new coupe, like brand new shoes, brand new everything. It's just like this brand new, and it's like got this interesting bounce to it. And I was just thinking about our conversation yesterday and how we were talking about recreating ourselves and just different stages of a brand's development. So this morning I'm feeling like a little Wayne was, brand new shoes, brand new coupe, brand new this, brand new that. Like what's going to be brand new about you? What's going to be brand new about me? What's going to be brand new as we're bringing in 2025? Can you believe it? It's already June. June is halfway done. So before we know it, we'll be halfway through the year. And there's so many interesting things that are happening for a lot of brands right now. So that's what I'm feeling right now, just brand new.
Yeah, Bobby, I feel like $1 million man with $1 billion plan.
That's, that's right.
That's the way I feel. That's the way I feel. And that's by choice. That's by choice. When we talk about recreate, like I'm always about total self-recreation. Like that's what I'm about. I'm about who do I need to become to get the life that I want. Okay. So that's what I'm always recreating myself. And even just this morning, I was having a conversation with myself. I was studying actually. I was training. So I train every single day. And if you're not training every single day, listen, in my training today, the instructor said that the difference, you know what the difference is, Bobby, between people, between the 1%? Literally just the simple stuff like determination, consistency, things like that. And even Tom Brady just gave a speech, I think like 2 days ago, and he literally said, if you want to become the best at what you do, just do what everybody don't, like do what they don't, which is stay consistent, stay disciplined, and just stay the course. Nobody does that. You
Mhm.
start the sales training today, you stop training tomorrow. You start branded like a leader today, you still don't watch branded like a leader tomorrow. You're not consistent, you're not disciplined, you don't set no goals. So for me, I'm all about how can I go to the next level. And today, I was writing something down mentally on the mental tablet of my mind. And I was writing down. I want everybody to write this down as well because this is in alignment with what we're talking about. So there's exercise that I do every now and then, Bobby. It's called I'm gonna call it something. Okay, I'll patent this. I'll trademark this because this is my stuff. But basically, you want to take a tab on like who do you want to be? So who does Bobby want to be? Like, and I don't mean like, okay, not like a millionaire, like not like stuff like that. I'm talking about who do you want to be in terms of what are the character traits that you want to have. So, for example, do you want to be 100% consistent? Do you want to be more energetic? Do you want to be more concise? Do you want to become a better speaker? Do you want to become a better closer? Do you want to become better with follow up? So who do you want to be? What are the characteristic traits that you want to have? So on one side of the sheet, I split it in half. One side of the sheet, I'm writing down who do I want to be. I'm writing down all of the characteristics of the person that I want to become. And then on the other side of the sheet, I'm writing down who am I being? Okay, so who are you being? So it's like I want to get, let's say you want to get a six pack. I want to have a six pack. That's what I want to become. But who am I being? And if you're honest with yourself, you realize that who you're being is inconsistent. Okay, it's not disciplined. Okay, you don't have the right beliefs. Okay, you don't have the right mental fortitude. You don't study enough. Okay, you're a pushover. Okay, maybe, there's so many qualities, if you really assess that, of who you're being. And when you look at that, like when you strike a balance of that, it's like, it's amazing because you get to see the difference between who you're being and who you need to become. And then you get to literally flip the character traits. So if right now you're not disciplined, the person that you need to become or you want to become needs to be disciplined. So how can you be more disciplined? What is the new actions that you're going to take? If you're not consistent, how can you implement consistency? If you're not training every day, how can you train every day? How can you be? So I have this saying, you have to be so you can become. How can you be so you can then become? And that's just the mental exercise I was going through this morning.
Yeah, I like that, Junior. When we come back from the break and we take them into what we have planned for this morning, I think a lot of people are going to realize that it's time. And when I say it's time, I mean baptism by fire, right? It's time to just bury the old you and go deep into who you can be and just do what's required. I have this definition of discipline that goes like this. Discipline is doing those things that have been predetermined as necessary, despite your preference for doing them. Now, to me, that's a bit profound. And that's profound because I have this other saying that talks about nature. And I say that nature is on display. And if I observe her, she will show what I should do when emotions are not involved. So what I mean by that is, like, if you look at a tree, I wouldn't say a tree is happy, sad, mad, upset, or anything. Like, it's a tree. Trees don't have emotions, or at least we don't think they do, right? And if we are looking at other things in nature, like water and mountains and all these different things that are alive and some things that are inanimate, if we just look at them and we look at the perfect order, so to speak, of the universe, and we just pay attention, we'll realize that nature, it never quits. Like, it never stops. The sun never just takes a day off. The trees never stop producing carbon dioxide. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It doesn't really matter anything. Like gazelles and lions, they wake up, they don't really care about how they feel that morning. They just do what they're supposed to do. They get up and they start running. And I pay attention to things like that. And I say to myself, if emotions weren't involved, if I didn't act on how I felt about this, what would I do? So all of this comes back to my definition of discipline and why I feel like it's profound, because it's doing those things that are predetermined. So good order predetermines what needs to happen in order for order to be maintained. And then, so the definition goes as this: discipline is doing those things that have been predetermined as necessary, despite one's preference for doing them. So I think the best form of discipline is one that acknowledges the predeterminations required to achieve the goal and completely removes the emotion from the actions required to achieve the goal. And if you can do those two things, one, identify what's required and necessary, and two, do those things regardless of how you feel, discipline becomes easy.
I said Shaan right east. I'm proud. I said Shaan right east. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire and heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold. in your
He
beliefs.
has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes.
Right, guys, so welcome back. And we're about to get in. We're about to get into it. So at this point is where you need to write. So write this down. Number one, what's written will be retained. So if you don't write, chances are you won't remember what we say. And you're going to miss the lessons and you could miss the blessings. So Bobby, let's get into it.
Yeah, man. So I was talking to Junior today, guys, and I'm like, brand beginnings. Brand beginnings. And I laughed because I had this scenario in my mind. Like, what if Junior didn't tell his authentic brand story? Like, what if Junior met Shaan and like changed his whole like story and was like, you know what? Now that I know Shaan, I am a Caribbean from New York. And I'm from New York, but I've got a Caribbean accent. So he's like, yo, what up, son? You know, this your boy, Junior Frederick. Hey, how you feeling, B? Like, what? I'm not from there. That's not really me. That's not really Junior. But what if Junior did that? Like, it probably sound cool, maybe the first few times, but would it be sustainable? Like, would that be something
Sorry.
that...
I'm wondering, do I really sound like that?
No, Junior, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Like, the thing would be, if you did, a lot of people just would not be able, I don't think, to engage because it wouldn't be real. It wouldn't be authentic. Like, that's not Junior Frederick. We know Junior Frederick from the Caribbeans, who has, yes, an accent from the Caribbeans, but it's very natural to where he's from. So he's not being inauthentic. Now, if Junior were to take that accent, so to speak, and try to fuse it with some up north New York lingo, change the way he dressed and like changes the way he eats, trying to fit in, that's not his brand origin story. That's somebody else's brand origin story that he may know, and he's trying to like conform. And I see this all the time. So that's what we're going to be diving into. At least one of the perspectives of that is like how to own your story. Because believe it or not, a lot of people will discount their own story and pay premium dollar for someone else's story. And what I mean by that is they will discount everything they've been through and then go buy everything that they can to look like something they've never done. For example, let's say there's a single mother who wants to get into the fashion industry. Now, this single mom has raised her kids by herself. She's worked 2 and 3 jobs to give them a phenomenal life. She's gone to college for, let's say, nursing, and she's done phenomenal stuff. And now she's ready to build her business. And she wants to build a fashion business. Instead of owning her origin brand story, saying, I'm a single mother of 3 kids, I went to college and I paid my way through college with 2 and 3 jobs and have phenomenal kids, she goes out, purchases some Louis Vuitton, gets some like Louis glasses, goes and like buys a car she can't afford, puts all of this like stuff on, and then rents a guy. She's like, hey, come pose as my significant other. Like, I know I'm a single mom, but that stuff doesn't sell. So I'm gonna want you to sit in here. And she like starts marketing that and tries to build a brand around that and a story around that. When she's got this phenomenal story of real truth, her real story, but that's been discounted because she doesn't feel like it's good enough. And then will take all of her hard-earned money trying to fabricate something that she thinks the people want. And what I'm here to talk to you guys about, and what Junior's here to talk to you guys about, is the power of owning your origin brand story telling that story unapologetically, and we have always talked about authentic brand leadership and authentic brand marketing. So, Junior, what's your perspective on just owning the brand story, leaning into your own story, and not really fronting, as we say, no cap, not going out there.
Bro. And guys, write this down. Write down, be a contender, not a pretender. I'm a contender, Bobby. I'm a contender in the race. I'm not a pretender. So whatever you see is whatever you get. I'm a contender. I'm contending. I'm vying for the top spot. That's it. I'm not a pretender. I'm a contender. Like if you're on your journey right now, it makes no sense to try to pretend that you're somebody or somewhere that you're not. It's like those influencers that they will rent, like they'll rent a plane or they'll rent like a Rolls Royce, take pictures, or just they'll go to like the airport and then they'll like walk onto a plane and take pictures like they're in some kind of private jet, they're flying private or whatever. And everybody knows that's not true. That was back in the day when Instagram just started, right? You could have full kind of stuff. But now people know what's real. People know what's real, and people appreciate real. People, I mean, it's more relatable. Like somebody showing like where they came from and the struggles that they went through and the struggles that they're going through is more relatable to me than somebody who's just saying like, oh, I just got here, I just got to the top, I'm just here. Like I just, like God just put me at the top of the world and I didn't go for anything and I never experienced any hurt and I never went, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. The only people that we write about, the only people that we talk about, the only people that we look at on the television, the only people that we look at in the movies are people that have been through stuff. So if you've been through something, which I believe we all have, right? Almost all of us, anyways, you know, we need to tell that story. We need to tell that story. So, Bobby, like, I would say be a contender, not a pretender. Now, when you look at why people do that, there's something called, I try to write it down. And guys, look this up, Google this. It's called allodoxophobia. Allodoxophobia. You know what that is, Bobby?
I would have.
Allodoxophobia.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
well, I was gonna give it a shot, but I don't know what it is. But if I had to guess, I would I would guess that that's like a phobia of being found out or something like that.
Not exactly. Not exactly. It's like the fear of what other people think.
Hmm.
That's called allodoxophobia. So when you fear, like when you fear, if you walk into a room and you're afraid of what the people in the room think about you, that's called allodoxophobia. So if you're scared to tell people who you are because of obviously judgment, that's called allodoxophobia. So I think the reason why a lot of people do that is because of allodoxophobia. Now, I want to introduce a new perspective though. There is a perspective, and this perspective is one where you create. So check this out. We all can write our stories. Yeah. We all can write like our stories. We can write our life stories. So wherever you've been in up until this point, like wherever you are right now, you can consciously create where you're going. Okay. And how do you do that? You have to create the ego, or you have to create the sort of the avatar for who you want to become. Okay, so you can change your story, Bobby. It doesn't mean being inauthentic, it means creating the rest of your life. Like right now, Bobby, you can say, okay, up until this point, I've been a CFO, I've been doing this, I've been in sales, I've been coaching, etc., etc. What does Bobby in the future look like? Who is he going to be? And you could literally create a character, just like Kobe had the Black Mamba, okay?
That's right.
Just like Beyonce has, I think Beyonce has like Sasha Fierce. You can create a character and ascribe that character with like attributes that you want to be. So if there was another version of Bobby that was a little bit more bold, a little bit unapologetic, that was a little bit more just different,
Right.
different. And and you talk about Andrew Tate a lot. Andrew Tate, he has top G. Top G is exactly what I'm talking about. It's like it's a persona that you consciously create that you can step into to become who you want to become.
So cool, right?
So there's that part as well. So just another perspective. It's not you pretending, it's you contending. Okay, you're vying for whatever you want to be or whoever you want to be, but at the same time, you're consciously acting and creating that person.
Yeah. You know, I like this a lot. And it made me think about timelines. And year one to year two, a lot of entrepreneurs that I work with are in the blissful state. They're in that world where everything is good. They're going to be millionaires before they know it. They're going to buy their mom a house. They're going to buy everybody else that they love and know everything that they want to buy them. And the friends that they have are going to be the friends that they keep. And they're just like in this blissful state. Like they're just reading more, watching more TV. And that goes on for like 24 months for many people. Some start to the disillusionment. It starts to fade away sooner than 2 years for some people. But most people, like, they're so excited. But the disillusionment starts to fade as you get to year three of your entrepreneurial journey, like consistently. Like you've said, you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're investing all of your time and money and energy. After the first 2 years, you get to year three. Year three is the grind. Year of the grind. This is where, all right, I'm still not rich yet. Okay, I'm learning a lot of things that I didn't know. And this is turning out to be harder than I expected. Three. Year of, say, realizations. And then you've got year four. And in my experience, year four is kind of the beginning of the recreation and the complete death of the old you. So you're transforming each year. Like the first year, you're blissfully taking action, and those actions are compounding. Then year one and year two, you're blissfully taking action. Year three, you start to become disillusioned, and you're starting to realize that all the delusions are not real, and all of these truths start to weigh you down and shape you up. And then as you get to year four, you start creating the person that you need to be in order to live with these new truths. Okay. So once you start to recreate yourself into the version of you that can actually live with this new information, year five comes in. And year five, I think, is the birth of Top G, the birth of the Black Mama. In my case, the birth of Bobby Stealth. And it's like, this is the person where it's like, okay, the old me couldn't pull this thing off. The new me is still in the process of becoming. I need a future me that I can step into and really just leverage when I need them most. And then the more I do it, the more I will become that person by being that person. And I think that's an interesting little timeline for many of you all to use, because it's pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. So as we get back to owning your origin brand story and being authentic, when we come back from the break, I want everyone to just kind of put in the chat where you feel like you are in the telling of your brand story. Do you feel like you're telling that brand story? And this is a scale. On a scale, do you feel like you're telling your whole brand story, the good, the bad, and the ugly? Do you feel that if you feel like you're telling it all, that's a 5. If you feel like you're telling a portion of your brand story, like you still haven't really gotten comfortable with the story or with your ability to tell it, so you're telling half of it. So yeah, that would be a 3. And then if you're kind of not really ready to tell your story and you're putting content out there, but it's surface level, it's more of what you do and not who you are, that's going to be a 1. And I just want you to be authentic, because this is the first step. The first step is being authentic and putting it out there. And then from there, we can build on that. You can build on that.
When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted. And people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're gonna add a 0 to the world, but you'll also add a 0 to your revenue. Let's grow. So when you're young, mommy tells you to play nice. Play nice, Timmy. Let all of the other kids play too. But in business, it's not about playing nice. In business, it's about winning. It's about adding multiple zeros to your revenue. Now, of course, your staff wins. And when you win, other people win. However, when it comes to competition, you absolutely must dominate. You can't play for participation, and you can't play just to get along or just to get by, because business is serious. Business will help you to change the world, or the world will change you. Your people will either win or your people will lose based on your level of leadership, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how much you know about dominating.
All right, guys, welcome back. We are talking about total self recreation. Bobby, I see a couple of numbers in the chat, so I'll just bring it up. So TSS free, and Dr. Michelle says 4.5. I'm telling it all, but there is always a blind spot. Something we don't and no one else knows yet. True. Very true.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on that, Bob?
I think this is really good exercise, guys, because all this money, right? All this money that everybody is touching and tapping into on social media is usually converted using a very simple system, and that's the know, like, and trust system. People buy from those they know, like, and trust. Everybody's probably heard that before. And when you are authentic, and the reason I like this exercise a lot is because people trust authenticity. And if you can put your brand out there aggressively enough, and people know you, and then you are authentic and humble about where you come from and what you've done, and this could still be extraordinary stuff. Like, you could be like Joel and be a fighter pilot, and that's a pretty aggressive, lifestyle to live for X amount of years, and you can still be humble. You can still talk about where you came from and some of the scary times you had while flying that Apache and all the different things that go into it. So those humble perspectives is what I think creates that likability. Like, people like people that they want to be like, I don't know if you guys remember the commercial, I want to be like Mike. Like, people like Mike because they wanted to be like Mike. And I think people will like you when they see things about you that they want to adopt for themselves. And there's nothing, I think, more effective at portraying that than authenticity. And lastly, if you do the first two right, trust is almost a natural sequence, like a natural follow-up. There's nothing other there's nothing likely to follow. No like but trust. If they know you and they like you and they're connecting with you, why wouldn't they trust you? You know, like, so it becomes like a no-brainer to me. But that's what I think about it, Junior, so far. So I'm definitely excited about these numbers in the chat, because it lets us know that, one, you guys are engaged, you're taking notes, you're involved, but two, we can help you now. You know, we can go a little bit deeper into that. So what are your thoughts on this, Junior?
Yeah, I think you could always tell your story better. I agree with Dr. Michelle. Like, you could always tell it in a better way. There's always a little bit more that you can give. Maybe you're telling the whole story, but maybe you're not telling the full story. That makes sense. Like, maybe you're not telling the thing. And you know what? Speaking of which, some time ago I had a conversation with somebody, and they told me that there were certain things that they didn't want to say in the story. And I said to them, okay, well, you know, tell me, like, what's going on. And when they told me what those small pieces were, I said to them, the pieces that you don't want to tell are actually the pieces that people need to hear. Like, the small stuff that you may be ashamed of, or you may not really want to, tell people. That's what people actually want to hear, because that's what is going to make them connect with you. That's what's going to build the emotional connection, give you that emotional bond, and allow you to sort of connect with your audience. So people want to know all of you, right? People want to know all of you. And of course, there are certain, like, very, very small things that, are personal, but most of it, if it can help them, I mean, share it. If it can help, then share it. Now, when it comes to consciously creating that story, that's something every single person has to do, especially if you're a speaker, which is why we teach that in Speaking Like a Leader. When you listen to people like Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, they know their stories, and they tell their stories in the exact same way every single time, because they've crafted their brand stories. So if you're going to build a brand story is definitely something that you need to have.
Mhm. I agree, Junior. And I was thinking about this morning during my meditation. I was just thinking about my version of changing the face of leadership. So those that's been following us for any amount of time know that Shaan's big vision is to change the face of leadership. You know, that's why we're here, is to make sure that there are everybody has an opportunity. You know, a lot of people have an opportunity to lead effectively, right? So I was asking myself, what is my XYZ? What is my thing? I think Junior has shared his a few times, and we always get deeper. I think, like, we find it and then we eventually hit bedrock. But I think Junior shared, making marketing simple, or making it something that everybody can do. And when I was thinking about mine, it was turning passions into solutions. Like, so that's like, if I had to put it into a simple sentence. So I share this with you guys so that you can just think about that brand story at its core, because that's the seed, and then let everything branch out from that. That's the only reason I shared that piece. Is like, if we look at changing the face of leadership, if you looked at that as the core, everything that Shaan and the brand has done has been an extension out of that. So speaking like a leader, branded like a leader, marketing like a leader, closing like a leader, all of these like a leader programs are designed to help people that may not have grown up with leadership or exceptional leadership and acquire the skills they need to become better leaders. So it's like everything ties back to the nucleus, which is changing the face of leadership and making sure there's diversity in our leaders. And I think that's a great place to start. So again, the topic for today was brand beginnings. Where does your brand begin? And for me, that's something I was thinking about this morning. And I would say my brand begins with the with the unlocking of hidden abilities, right? So that's for me. Where does your brand begin? That's for you. So for me, turning passions into solutions, well, the passion, like that's what's normally pent up inside of the entrepreneur. Like they have this vision, they've got this passion, they've got all of this desire, and it's pent up. And in order for that desire to translate into a solution, there needs to be a business system. And in order for there to be a business system, there needs to be some money, some flow, some economics, some commerce. Like there's got to be a few things set in place to release that passion into the world in the form of a solution that is sustainable and can actually help people. And that's my purpose. Like that's my origin brand story, or my why. It's like, how and who do I have to be? What type of company do I have to create to be what I would like to think like fire hydrant? Like either I'm the hydrant or the hose. I haven't figured it out yet. But the ideal client, they're the water. They're the pent up pressure. I'm either the hydrant or the hose. I'm one of them, so that they can spray down those fires, which are the problems in the marketplace. So that's just something to think about, guys, as you're building that brand, as you're researching and going deep within yourself.
Yeah, when I think about a brand story has certain elements should be present. Number one, it should be true. So it has to be true. It has to be authentic. Number two, it has to move emotional triggers. So it has to build up emotion in the audience. That's number two. Number three, it has to point towards what you do. So in other words, it has to tell me, where did you get the big idea from? So I use the example of actually a makeup brand called La Mer. If you know La Mer, put a number one in the chat if you've ever heard of it. So with La Mer, which translates to the sea, by the way, La Mer is French. It means the sea or the ocean. So with this particular one, the brand story goes this way. So this guy, the creator of it, he was this scientist, right? He was this, like, I think he was like this rocket, literally a rocket scientist, Bobby. And then he was working on some stuff in the lab, and then one day he got his face burned, like half of his face got burned in like a mini explosion in the lab. And then what he did was he sought, of course, like anybody would, after his face healed, he sought to fix up his skin, like, because when you get a burn like that, it messes up your skin. So he was trying to fix his skin. Now, well, none of the solutions on the market worked. And then one day, while studying, I think he was studying what's called sea kelp. They call it kelp. So it's like seagrass that sort of bashes up against the rocks. You can find it close to like bridges and stuff like that, against the huge rocks. He discovered that sea kelp has certain properties, certain rejuvenation properties that allow it to regrow itself very quickly. And so this guy, he goes to the sea, he takes some kelp, he ferments it, he extracts the oil, and then he brews the oil. And check this out, while he's brewing the oil, he has classical Beethoven music playing in the background. So he has in like this copper tube, because copper is conductive, and then he's playing classical music and he's brewing the solution, and believe it or not, the frequency, so frequency is like, everything is frequency in the universe, just so you know. And literally everything is frequency. So so the frequency of the music, right, combined with the conductivity of the metal that it was brewing in, it gave the kelp or the solution this special healing properties. He was able to cure his skin. And then he coined it miracle broth. So that's literally where La Mer came from. So if you go to their website and you read the story and you hear the story, Like I never forgot the story. I read that story several years ago. I never forgot it because it's such an amazing story. So for your story, your brand story, where did you come from? Like the whole idea to change the face of leadership or Sean came one day when Sean was actually he was staring in the mirror one day and then he realized that while trying to think of leaders, he said, I don't know any leader that looks like. And he said, if I don't know any leader that looks like me, then my most likely my kids don't know any leader that looks like them. What am I gonna do about that? So for your brand story, I want you to identify that moment. There's always a moment in any story, the moment where you sort of flip. Whether it's like, you know what I'm talking about, Bob? It's like in those movies where the hero decides, you know what, enough is enough. Where the guy decided to become Batman. That's what I'm talking about. Where Wonder Woman decided to come out of the jungle to save humanity. Where there has to be a moment where enough is enough and things just sort of flip. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to do something about it. It's where you make an intervention, where you make a change, a life changing decision that changes your life literally forever and changes the entire trajectory of your story. So like there had
That's
to be
great.
a moment where you decided, you know what? I'm going to leave the military and I'm going to become a CFO. I'm going to get into like there has to have been a moment where you were under intense pressure. Things were not going the way you thought it was. And I heard you tell your story, here the other day. It's like that moment, Bobby, in your story where you were like, I'm in combat, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then the people that are working at like the restaurants making more money than me, like in that, bro, there has to be a moment where you have the realization where you just snap. And then you're like, you know what? Something needs to change, something needs to shift. And then you become a different person. And if you could identify that moment and build your story around that moment, like that's the climax, then you could actually create a phenomenal brand story.
Junior, that made me think about another moment in my life where it's just like, and I was in the military at this time, and it all just pulls back to pinned up passion. So for me, and the reason I'm sharing this with you guys is just to give you different perspectives, ways to hone in on your own story. So in my experience, what I was doing is I was walking back and forth at a job that I hated, right? No, I didn't hate it. It was the military, but it was like I was at a level in that job where I could just walk outside and just walk. And nothing would, like, no one would say anything to me. Nothing would happen to me. I was a staff NCO. I made it, so to speak, even though there were still responsibilities that I had, but it was like I wasn't a troop anymore. And I was walking. And as I was walking with this sense of like, I'm doing what I want, but I'm not doing what I want. Right. So just go with me, guys. Like come into my emotions and my mindset so that when you are sitting by yourself and you go through this thought exercise, you can feel it for yourself. So I'm walking and I'm thinking to myself, I can do what I want, but I'm not doing what I want. And then I started thinking to myself, how many dreams would die with me if I don't start getting them out now? So that was like my second thought. So now I'm just walking and I'm pacing and I'm like, now I'm thinking about freedom because I've been in for like 8-10 years now. So now I'm thinking I have served my country so that other people can do what I can. Now there's some honor in that, but then there's that snapping moment like Junior talked about. It's like I've put my life on the line. I've gone overseas on foreign soil so that people can post online like what they want to say. Like without an armed forces, going out there and protecting the freedoms of our country, like they don't exist. Like someone could come in, conquer us, and say, this is how you're going to do things. But because soldiers, Marines, and sailors go out every day and do what needs to get done to protect our lifestyle, we have that. So I'm sitting there with all this weight on me because I'm just thinking like, okay, I've done all these things to make this possible, and I'm not benefiting from them. But it wasn't the benefit part that got me like all worked up. It was the fact that I had some freedom, but I didn't have a release. I didn't have the ability to let this thing out. So fast forward a little bit to when all of this started formulating and bubbling, and I started making some really hard decisions that led to this journey of entrepreneurship. The camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back was a saying, I think, that came from Benjamin Franklin. And I shared this with you guys before. I believe it was Benjamin Franklin. He said, many men die at 40, but aren't buried until they're 60. It was like people die at 40, but aren't buried until they're 60. And what he was saying was that more people sacrifice over and over and over. They give, they delay, they procrastinate, to the point where the life force, that thing that drives and compels them, dissipates because they never take action on it. They never give into the flow of what is calling them. And they ignore that calling to the point where the calling stops calling. And then they die inside. And they just keep on doing what they've been doing. They keep ignoring till they're not ignoring anymore. Now they're just living a life that they've, become accustomed to. And they said they're buried when they're 60. Once that resonated with me, I was like, and this is all, me sharing this for the first time. So like Junior said, you can always get better at telling your story. I'm going to get much better at telling this the next time around. This is the first time I've ever told this. That was the moment. So it was at that moment where I was like, man, I've got a lot of dreams. I've got a lot of visions. I've got a lot of potential, and it's pent up in my current situation. And I need to find a bridge to get a lot more freedom to do the things that I need to do so that I can contribute to society the way that I believe I was born to. And that was the moment that I became a CFO, so to speak. I became an entrepreneurial, focused individual and started figuring out how I was going to release a lot of these visions. And that was it for me.
Yeah. Guys, we're going to take a quick 60-second break, and then we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. But they're looking for the 3 I's, the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the 3 E's and the 3 I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence. So when you're young, mommy tells you to play nice. Play nice, Timmy. Let all of the other kids play too. But in business, it's not about playing nice. In business, it's about winning. It's about adding multiple zeros to your revenue. Now, of course, your staff wins. And when you win, other people win. However, when it comes to competition, you absolutely must dominate. You can't play for participation, and you can't play just to get along or just to get by, because business is serious. Business will help you to change the world, or the world will change you. Your people will either win or your people will lose based on your level of leadership, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how much you know about dominating.
All right, guys, so welcome back. Bobby, we've arrived at the top of the hour. in record time. So it seems. I didn't even realize it. But last takeaways. Last takeaways before we go off. What would you say?
Man, it's Friday. It's Friday. So for many of you all, it's the end of the week. You're about to enjoy your weekend. So if that's you, like if you're working the 9 to 5 and you're getting ready to transition from the 9 to 5 to business, or at least you're aspiring to do so, don't waste the weekends. That's what I would say. It's like, take those weekends, treat them like a work day, treat them like your work day. If you have Saturday and Sunday off, don't take those days off. Turn those days on, is what I would say on this Friday. If you're an entrepreneur and you've earned your weekend, I would say spend that time with the family. Don't get so caught up in the grind that you forget about the loved one. So that'd be my ending remarks for today.
Yeah, and mine is, figure out who you want to be. Figure out what does the next level look like for you. And that's not only with business, that's also with family, also with finances, okay, which is very important. So family, finances, your spiritual life is very important. Your health is very important. All of these things are important. So figure out what does the next version of you look like, and then put in place an action plan to get there. It's very funny, Bobby, because most of us know who we want to be, but very few of us actually have a plan on how to get there. And that's the difficult part. Like, what is the plan to actually take you there, actually get you there? Hey, that's what we need to figure out. And if you have that plan already, then work your plan. If you have your plan, then work your plan, and your plan will work. All right. So, guys, have a phenomenal, phenomenal Friday. We will be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. for the Saturday show. Have a great day and speak soon. Let's go.